Hi, thank you so much for your interest in our webinar recording. If you have any questions or concerns after the webinar today, please feel free to reach out to us and check the description box below for links to schedule a demo and learn more.
I am an early education fitness and nutrition education specialist. That was my introduction into the early childhood world through Stretch and Grow. And Stretch and Grow is an international franchise. And over the course of about the last 20 years, I've become their director of corporate training. So trained probably now thousands of early education leaders and teams on all different kinds of topics. So it started out as a passion for fitness and nutrition and kids, kind of segued into really leadership development and team development. And I'm a business and leadership strategist now specifically for early education leaders. And so much of the content that we have really speaks to a lot of what ChildcareCRM does in alignment with helping to automate, delegate, and eliminate things to help our jobs to be easier. And so that's one of my passions, because our jobs are really hard, right? And so we shouldn't get bogged down in paperwork and old systems and processes that don't benefit us or our teachers or our families anymore. Okay, friends, if you have a piece of paper, I'm a teacher. When I know a thing, I teach a thing. So I'm going to teach you some things today, some actual takeaways that you'll be able to hopefully get some nuggets and go back and use in your schools and in your centers. So I'm going to share my screen here. And let me just pop this into present mode so you can see my slide deck fully. So, this is called 3 connections between staff and family retention. And I was mentioning earlier when Sierra and I were on together, it's so important to align everything that you're doing in your school. So many times we seem to work in silos, right? So the office will work in one silo, the teachers in the classroom are in another silo, dealing with parents is in another. But when it's integrated, you really and truly do hit on all cylinders. So I'm excited to share some tips and tools about how these connections all tie together. So I always love to start my trainings with an inspirational quote. And this is one that really does apply to what we're learning today. It's a quote by the famous Maya Angelou. And she said, "People will forget what you said. People will forget what you did, but people will never forget the way that you made them feel." And as childcare business professionals, you have a tremendous opportunity to impact families. And so how they feel after their experience with you and in your center makes a difference in whether they stay with you through the entire time that they have children of age for your care, or whether after their kids age out of care, they're going to recommend you to their friends and their neighbors and their families. So remember that. Parents are looking for high quality experiences for their kids. So what does that mean to you? What is a high quality experience for their children? And are you offering a high quality experience? You know, I'm kind of a branding geek. Through Stretch and Grow, which, as I mentioned earlier, was my franchise business that I've been involved in for the last 23 years. We went through a rebrand in 2018-19, and we really began to dial down on what it is that we offer. What do we deliver? And it's an experience. So if you have a business, whether you're selling products or whether you're selling services, everyone is selling an experience, and those parents want high quality experiences for their kids. So this training is going to be broken down into 3 specific connections. So I want to ask you the question, where is your investment? And the 3 categories I'm going to talk to you about, I'm going to go ahead and give it to you up front, and then we'll break down each one. The first is, what are your tools for attraction? And by that, I mean your brand, the building where the kids come to, the contents of that building, and then the curriculum. Those are your tools of attraction. When people walk in, that's the first thing they're going to see. Second is your technology. What systems do you have that automate, delegate, and eliminate things that you don't need to do? And we're going to really talk about technology today. And then finally, it's the talent. That is your teachers, your team, anyone on your team, anyone that has touch on your team. Do they consistently deliver your brand through every experience? So those are the 3 things that we'll break down. So let's go ahead and start with your tools of attraction. Your building. Here's the truth. And some of you have beautiful buildings, I'm sure. and you are really proud of it and you love it, and it gives you so much joy to open that door and welcome people into your bright, beautiful, I'm sure good smelling office, school, classroom, every piece of your building. Yes, it is part of your brand, but your building can only take you so far. And your brand is abundantly more than your logos, fonts, and colors. As I mentioned, we went through a rebrand with my company, and we were so excited to get a refreshed logo. I mean, our company was 28 years old. It desperately needed refreshing. But when we would do marketing, we wouldn't just use the colors in our logo. We would say, oh, that's a cute font. I love that font. Oh, let's grab some stock pictures of random kids jumping around all over the place. But it wasn't really true brand photography. We were using whatever colors looked good for the day, or whatever colors we thought made a pretty brochure. Once I really figured out, okay, we need to focus on a consistent use of our logo, consistent use of fonts, consistent use of colors, that did make everything look consistent, especially with the evolution of social media and how many families are on social media. But your brand is abundantly more than your visuals. I want to talk to you about brand values. Now, I hope that you have nailed down your core values. I don't know what your school is, and I know I just have kind of seen where you guys are coming from. But do you have core values that you and or the people on your staff, on your team, could nail down and repeat them? So if you have core values, I'd love for you to drop in the chat. Yes, we do, or we're working on it. But do you live into those brand values? Okay. And some key ones would be integrity, quality, and consistency. Right? Okay. Some of you guys, let's see what you're saying here in the chat. Yes, you have them. Yes, you do. Thanks for asking. Absolutely, Carol. It's so important. Integrity. Do you do what you say you will do, and do you honor your commitments? This has to do with bringing new families in. This has to do with consistently delivering the experience that you said you were going to deliver. Like, for example, if you have a Montessori school and you've sold those parents your Montessori curriculum, are your teachers teaching Montessori? Do the people on your team know how to sell it? Do they know what it is? Do they understand the components? Do they understand the pedagogy of what the Montessori philosophy is? So, is integrity a part of your brand values? It absolutely should be. And everyone on your team should know that everything we do is driven by those core values. And then another one is quality. Do you operate with a standard of excellence that is evident to your current and prospective families? And I don't mean perfect, right? But if we shoot for excellence, we're going to hit close. If we shoot for excellence every time, this is what we know. Average people generally will not be excellent. And that's Gallup research. If you're taking notes, and you might be familiar with the book StrengthsFinder by Marcus Buckingham, the Gallup research did a study of employees, and it's been many years ago, but what they found is that people who are above average, places who are above average, have the ability to become excellent. But people who are average and just stick with the status quo and just stick with whatever's easier, don't become excellent. And what is your goal for your values? What is your goal for your school? It's to be excellent. You want to be good. You want to be better because you're one of the ones, you're showing up to get learning, to get teaching, to get training, so that you can up level your school, so that you can up level your leadership. And that's quality, right? And then another thing is consistency. Are your delivery and communications predictable and steady? And when I'm going to talk about automate, delegate, and eliminate, those things are so important, because when things are automated, you're consistent, right? If you're like me, you have 10,000 things going on in your brain. There's a party in your head all of the time. And so if I have to depend on my mind to remember everything that I'm supposed to do, things are going to get missed. Okay, Danielle, your question was, what was the book called? It's called Now Discover Your Strengths by Marcus Buckingham. And it's got the StrengthsFinder personality test in it. You may be familiar with that, but it's called Now Discover Your Strengths. He's also written a really good management book around these same concepts called First Break All the Rules. So those might be some good resources for you as leaders. So that's about your brand values. But there's another thing that's really important with your brand that you may or may not realize. What is your staff brand or your team brand? I use those two words interchangeably. The people who work at your school, at your center, at your nursery, at your creche, wherever you are in the world. I know that you use different terms for what you call where you operate your business. But your staff brand or your employer brand is the process of promoting an organization as a great kind of place to work, to the kind of talent required for your organization to live out its mission. So basically, who are you attracting? Who is your brand attracting? Now, I know that we have a shortage of early childhood educators. I know that we do. We do in the US, and I'm guessing if we do in the US, it's probably a worldwide crisis right now. That COVID completely upended the childcare industry. So people left not to return for whatever reason. And so now, as the world begins to open and as we begin to see COVID hopefully begin to get further and further away from the center of our existence, we're going to open back up and we're going to need those teachers. Who are you attracting? Are you very clear on who your teachers are? Because your staff has a brand, whether you realize it or not. So when you look around at the people that you've attracted on your team, that's your brand. Are they functioning in the core values that you set up for them? Or do you see gaps to where they could use more training, or gaps to where they could be a little stronger in delivering the experience that you promised your families that you would experience? Good, Carol. I'm glad you think that's powerful. It's so true. So your staff brand matters. Do you intentionally build a staff brand to attract the right kind of person? I'm going to give you some tips and tools a little bit later in this training, but I hope that that's something that you've been mindful of. So the next tip, technology. And you're on a childcare CRM, so I'm guessing that you probably are in tune to technology. I'm guessing you're probably in tune to what is happening, what resources are available to help you automate, delegate, and eliminate things. So let's dive into technology. Now, Hi Mama it's another platform, but Hi Mama did a study of parents who would switch childcare providers if they found a center that offered these things. So think of this. 80% said they would switch, and this isn't would they choose, this is would they leave their current center and go to another center if they shared videos and pictures, right? How simple is that? Guys, I hope this wind isn't a distraction. I'm in Hawaii right now. I'm working remote, and I'm up in the mountains, but not too far from the ocean. So occasionally a gust of wind will come through. So hopefully it doesn't affect the audio. But let's talk about sharing videos and pictures. Do you have a platform to do that? You know, maybe it's through a Facebook group. Maybe it's through GroupMe. Maybe it's through something like ProCare or Kangaroo Time or Hi Mama, one of these platforms where you can actually share pictures and videos. Parents want on-demand access to their children. They want to know, what are they doing right now? A mom's at work. She gets a notification on her phone. Here's a picture of your child. She's so happy. 63% said they'd switch with a parent communication app. 63% also said that they would prefer digital documentation. Are you giving your parents a packet of information to fill out when they walk through your door? I hope not, because 63% of parents say that's not really the way that they want to do business. You know, you have savvy parents. They are quick to learn. They are quick to move. They are quick to want to take information in, fix it, forget it, move on to the next thing. So think about that. Also, they want contactless check-in, especially with COVID. They don't want to have to come in, sign in their child. They want contactless check-in. They also want contactless payments. And finally, they want at-home activity content. So are these things that you're providing? So take a screenshot of this, because this is really, really helpful information to help you know and understand what savvy parents are looking for. All right, next, technology. Attracting your family. So if you're using a great CRM to capture, organize, and optimize leads so that you don't miss out on your next great family, AKA we're going to call them a brand ambassador. So are you using technology to attract your families? I know ChildcareCRM has been around for a long time, and I know that they really focus on making this easy for parents to get their information to the center, for the center to capture that information, and for them to continue to communicate. So that helps when you're attracting families into your schools. And again, keep in mind, families are brand ambassadors. If they have that know, like, and trust factor with you, they're going to want to send their children to you. They're going to want to recommend you as well. Next, can you retain these families through technology? The answer is 1,000% yes. Parent communication apps and platforms to keep families connected with on-demand access are absolutely essential. So if you don't have one of these platforms, make sure that you look into that. You know, you can send me some information and I can share with you some of the ones that I work with on a regular basis. But these platforms really do change the way that you communicate with your families. So technology will not only help you attract the right families, it's also going to help you retain those families. It also helps with the quality of the service that you're providing. So technology allows us to just simply do things quicker, right? So with increased speed, your quality of services and your results gives greater levels of customer satisfaction to your family. Here's the bottom line. Happy families equal a happy staff. Here's where you're going to find that connection. When your families are happy, they're happy to bring their children to you. They're happy to bring their children to a happy place. So when you think in terms of technology, how does that apply to your staff and families? Just in these ways that I've let you know. Happy staff, happy families, they're all interconnected, and technology really and truly does make a difference. It's definitely a tool that you have at your disposal that makes a difference in the customer satisfaction. And I want you to think of this because sometimes we think in terms of, that's just another added expense. We're not, our enrollment's still down. We're not ready to take on an expense. I want you to think about the money value of your time. The things that you are doing manually, the things that you are doing by hand, the things that you're trying to remember to do, if you spend the time and the effort and the energy to automate and systemize some of those things, it's going to buy you time in the future. So yes, it's time, it's an investment now, but it does help in the future. I've had my business for 23 years. And when I first started, I literally had a ledger where I was jotting down when I would create Excel invoices, and I was tracking payments on a notebook. I mean, that's how simple it started. And now almost everything is automated. Our schedules, our parent communication, apps, social media, all of that is automated, and it's a beautiful thing. Okay, will all of this be emailed? Yes, there was a question in the chat. Will all this be emailed? Absolutely. Sierra is going to make sure to take care of you guys and get this out to you guys after the webinar a little bit later. So rest assured, you'll have all this information at your fingertips. And I'm just happy that you like it. I'm hoping that you find some value in what you're learning today. Okay, back to the CRM thing. I listened to a podcast by the Child Care Business Coach. If you are in childcare, that's another great podcast to watch. My friend Evelyn Knight is the host of that. And I've been on her podcast multiple times. So I always like to go back and listen to it because I know she's going to drop some great nuggets. This is what she dropped this past week. She said that currently only 3% of childcare centers report that they follow up the families after a tour. So if you're wanting to increase your enrollment, technology using a CRM is a great way to do that because it allows you to track those families. It's going to automate when you're communicating with them, what you're saying to them. It's going to put them in that, we call it a sales funnel, so that you can continue to communicate and capture that family and turn that browser into a buyer. Only 3% are following up with their tours. If you need to grow your enrollment, let that sink in. Let that kind of shock you to think, am I losing business because I'm not following up with a tour? Like you think, okay, mom, dad, family, whoever brought this child in, now we've shown you everything. You came, you toured. Okay, it's up to you. You know where we are. When you're ready for us, come at us. That's not going to be the case. They may not follow up with you. So make sure that you have a system to follow up. I'm a big fan of what I call swipe files, meaning that I just have a running Google Doc. When I have a standard question that people are constantly asking me, I just go into that Google Doc, I copy and paste those words, and I put them right into an email because I want to make sure that this is automated. You can use a CRM to automate your email sequences. So there's so much information out there. So you should never, ever, ever lose a lead. Once you get them into your building, you know they're interested. So you make sure that you are the number one choice for that family. Position yourself that way. All right, the connection between staff and families, that's going to keep them coming back. That is going to keep them referring you to others. Okay, let's talk about technology in relation to your staff. CRM is just a customer relations management system. It helps you manage your customer relations. That's what CRM stands for. And at the end of this webinar, by the way, I'm going to give you some information. ChildcareCRM, the sponsor of this webinar, is the absolute best CRM for our industry. And I work with a lot of companies that do things like this, and their system, it's affordable, it's amazing. And so you'll get some information on a CRM if that's something that you're interested in learning about as well. So now, if you're multitasking, come back to me, because research says that adults get to focus about 20 to 25 minutes, and we're right at minute 25. So if you're multitasking, switch back, because I'm going to drop some hot tips right now that's going to really change the way that you are training your teachers. Technology when it has to do with staff. And I'm about to give you some ideas for some free tools that you can use to do this simple thing. Switching from manual to online training consolidates and optimizes your resources, leading to better outcomes of training and adding value to your organization. Yes, I'm talking about ditching your hot mess paper manual and moving that to an online system. Here are the benefits of that. When you switch to an online training, 92% of employees say that having technology to do their job efficiently affects their work satisfaction. So guess what? When you bring a new teacher into your school and you found her and she's a good fit and you hire her, you want to keep her or him, whoever that teacher is. You want to make sure that you keep that person. And I say her because probably about 98% of early childhood teachers are female. 60% say that less times for teams to complete the online training as compared to in-person training. And that means, yes, you think, well, this is going to take me some time and effort, maybe a little bit of investment up front, but it's going to take 60% less time for them to complete it. And 42% of companies say that they see a increase in company revenue when they make the switch from manual training to online training. Now, I'm such a geek about this. So I created a checklist for you guys. It's just a free download. You can go to M2M Checklist.bethcannonspeaks.com. And that is going to be, there's a checklist in there, and it is everything that you need using all free tools to convert your paper handbook into online modules. And it starts with systems like Trello, which is just a kind of a project organization tool, to Canva, moving things through and making it simple and pretty and easy for your teachers to write. Okay, Yvette, I see that Yvette is here. Yvette Jackson was one of my students in one of my programs that we did earlier, and she actually is in the process of converting her hot mess paper manual into online modules. And so I know that she and her team have worked really hard to walk through their manuals and put them into 5 different slide decks or 5 different modules to use in onboarding her staff. And so I'm telling you guys, it makes such a difference. It makes an absolute difference, because when you're looking at the difference in your onboarding and your orientation, there are a few key elements that I want to make sure that you get when I say the word onboarding, because it's kind of a business business world word. Sorry about that. And we don't often use it in education. So we just think of orientation, right? Well, orientation is just a one-time event when they get to know about your school and learn what it's like to work there. Onboarding is different. It's a series of events that happen to just include their orientation that helps them really understand how to successfully do their job day in and day out, and how their work contributes to the business and the mission and the culture of the school. So you don't just want them to, okay, give them a handbook and say, okay, these are all the things that you can't sue us for and all the things that we could fire you for. That does not tell your teachers how to do their job. That does not tell your teachers how to be a team player. That doesn't tell your teachers what it's like to truly work at your school. It makes a difference. So when you're intentional about really onboarding them and making it a process, not just a week or 2 weeks, and in most places that do it well, it's a 6 month to a year process to really integrate a new staff member into what it's like to work at that school. Okay, moving on. If you guys have any questions, make sure to drop them in the chat because I'm monitoring it. So I want to make sure that I answer your questions. Okay, onboarding also can significantly improve employee engagement and reduce turnover. Now, this is such a tacky thing to say, but I'm going to tell you the truth. And it's probably a US statement. So I know there are a lot of you guys watching internationally, but we have a term in the US. It's cheaper to keep her. It's generally used when you're talking about divorce. I'm not talking about divorce. We're talking about onboarding. It is less expensive for you to onboard correctly and to teach, train, and integrate into the culture of your school, your teachers. It is cheaper for you to keep the right people in the right seats because 50% of new hires leave a company within the first 18 months. And that is shocking, within the first 18 months. And you spend a lot of money, well over 1 year's salary, onboarding and training a new teacher. So they're hard to find right now. So when you get them, you want to make sure that you keep them. And I am a firm believer that a solid onboarding process makes an absolute difference in that. So as you're walking through this, here are some things that I want you to ask yourself. These questions are also in that free download, that ultimate checklist, M2M Checklist.bethcanspeaks.com. There's the website down there. But these are some questions that are from a piece of that checklist. And these questions are, when you're thinking in terms of onboarding, when's the last time that you updated your manuals? And I don't mean just for COVID. I mean, why did you do it and when, right? Then what about your onboarding process? What's not working with your onboarding process? Next, do you have any limiting mindsets around your ability to convert your manuals to modules? Because a lot of times we think, well, I'm just not technical. I just can't do that. I'm just not technical. Well, the truth is we all have to learn new things and we're all learning to do hard things. And sometimes learning new pieces of technology can be difficult. And so think about the process of converting those manuals to modules. It's absolutely doable. I mean, I'm no spring chicken, guys. I'm 50. I'm almost 51 years old. And if I can learn to do new things, you can learn to do new things. So keep that in mind. And then next, what are the key things that your new hires are missing out on? Like when you hire new teachers and you get them into your building, what's missing? Like what is the disconnect? Are they not understanding how to deliver your curriculum? I mean, think about this again. If you're multitasking, pull back for a minute. When you're bringing people on board, where are they dropping the ball? Or where are you dropping the ball? Where are your leaders dropping the ball? Because when you're hiring out of frenzy and you're hiring out of a frantic mindset, I know that for a lot of my team members that I brought on, some of the worst hires for me, not that they were bad people, they just were not a great fit for my company. I was not in a good place. I was in this frantic and I'm like, okay, you can pass a background check. You're available when I need you. You don't look scary. Okay. Yes. Great. I can train you. I can give you skills. I can give you knowledge. And I pray to God that you have the talent that you need to do this job. Well, the truth was they didn't have the talent and I didn't see that. So I looked around some things and I bet if you're watching, there's a chance that you may have hired people that weren't a really good fit for you. So look back at the last few hires that you had. Look back at the things that did not go well and ask yourself, are there key things that you're missing? And I'm betting that you can probably pick a few things that you could do differently. And that's going to lead us into our talent, your talent or your teacher. So here's a note for you. I want you to jot this down. You can give them skills and you can give them knowledge. You cannot give them talent. I believe that teaching, loving other people's children, having that thing in you, that fire in you that wants to get people to do what you want them to do, that you get excited about teaching. I think you can call it a spiritual gift. You can call it an innate talent, but Teaching, I believe, is a talent. So you can give people skills and knowledge. You can't give them the true talent, the true gifts to be able to teach. Are you listening to that? Are you paying attention to what the true talents are that they need to integrate in your building? Now, this I found really interesting. I love statistics. I love data and statistics. And Psychology Today did a study on what is the difference between high quality versus low quality care. If you're watching, I'm guessing you're thinking that you are a high quality care. And you probably are, because you're here and you're looking to better yourself and you're looking to better your school. But the way that they determined that was through two different things. They had a process variable and they had a structural variable. The process variable, that was the human interaction. That was the child's subjective experience. Remember that Maya Angelou quote that I gave you? People will forget what you said, they'll forget what you did, but they'll never forget the way that you made them feel. That's the process variable. The structural variable is objective. Those are the conditions when we talked about those, your tools of attraction, your brand, your building, your floor space, your group size, your child to teacher ratio, how your teachers are trained. Good structure facilitates good processes. Good processes facilitate high quality care, which in turn predicts a positive child outcome. So that is what Psychology Today says is going to be the difference between high quality versus low quality care. But this I found very interesting. Now, don't forget this, like, let this sink into your brain. The most notable of the structural variables was the caregiver stability. Okay, the caregiver stability. Okay, Carrie says, I say I can teach you everything you need to help and teach my children, but what I can't teach you is passion. Amen, Carrie. Absolutely. Passion is what gets you through the door on those tough days. It's your passion for teaching. Yes, absolutely. It's your passion. It's your passion. And are you the kind of leader that can pick out that passion? Do you have questions to ask your staff? Again, caregiver stability is the most notable structural variable. They found that the turnover rates among the child care staff are super high. So it's 30% annually on average. So where are you in that? What is your turnover rate? If you've got a greater than 70% retention rate, you are rocking and rolling. And this study came out about 2020. I would be curious to know now, a year post-pandemic, or as we're on the end of the pandemic. I say post-pandemic, but like if we're a US baseball game, I hope we're in like the bottom of the eighth. Like I hope that we are running toward the ninth. The game only has 9 innings. I'm hoping that we're running toward the ninth. But from the people that I talk to and the students that I work with and the people that I consult with, they're seeing turnover rates a lot higher. They also found that older married staff are less likely to leave than younger single ones. It doesn't mean that they won't stay. The majority of my staff, because of what we do, we're fitness instructors and dance teachers. The majority of my staff are younger and they are single. But I'll tell you, my rock stars that I've had, 12, 15, 17 years are married and they are in a stable relationship, and they do not solely depend on their income as an early childhood professional to support their family. And those are facts. Caregivers who like their boss are also less likely to leave. Now, I want you to think of this, because so many times we see information that says people don't leave jobs, people leave their boss. That quote has really caused a lot of harm to my mental psyche. And if you've spent much time around that, it may have yours as well, because every time someone would leave or someone would have an opportunity, I would take the blame. What is it that I did wrong? And so then I would constantly churn over, let's have an exit interview. Let's talk about it. What did we do wrong? And I'm super, super mindful of the way that I lead my team now, because I've done it for so long. I know what makes people want to leave. But the truth is, sometimes people leave for reasons other than their leader. Like I just lost 2 long-term amazing employees in the last few weeks who aren't going to return this next school year. One got a full-time job. I only have part-time jobs. And another, her mom has a business and her mom needs her help. So she's going to work in her parents' business. But people leave for different reasons. But if they like their boss, they're less likely to leave. Also, staff turnover really does create a harmful and stressful environment and instability. And I know that probably is when a teacher either doesn't show up for work or doesn't come back after lunch one day, which we've seen that happen so often, or gives you a notice even, you know that instability can kind of shake the foundation of your school and your presence and your essence. So let's be those people that do all that we can to stand. Yes, people are going to come and go, and we cannot predict that. However, are we doing all that we can do to stand, to funnel those families in, to have a streamlined system that is buttoned up so that the back end of our office and the way that we deal with our families and our staff, that you have a systemized way to be able to handle that. And then it also said that high turnover rates are going to signal poor quality care. So when you think in terms of how are you perceived as a school, a child care center, creche, nursery, Montessori, whatever you call yourself, are you perceived as high quality or low quality? And understand that your turnover can truly make a difference in that. So I'm going to help you to make sure that you're doing all that you can do to keep those teachers, because here's the truth. It is the daily interactions between you, your team, your parents, and your kids. Does that reflect the experience that you want to deliver? Remember, you don't just have a service, you have an experience. I want you to think in terms of those daily interactions. Like think of an interaction that just brought you so much joy, an interaction that just when you walked away, you thought, man, I am doing what I'm called to do. I am living into my calling. I am living the dream. This is why I'm in this business. This is my why. I want you to think of that. What was happening? What was going on? Who were those people? Where were you? Who were those team members that made you feel that way? What was it about those parents that just made you feel so connected to them? And what about those teachers? What made those teachers so absolutely amazing that they created this experience for what you wanted them to do? Yeah, and Belinda says a lot of time people leave to make more money. And you know what? That's true. That's true. But a lot of people stay because of the way that they feel in their jobs. I mean, early childhood education is what it is, right? And education is, I'm an educator. My first job out of college, I was a classroom teacher. And so I didn't get into education because I wanted to make a lot of money. I got into education because I wanted to make a difference. I loved kids. Like I said, when I know a thing, I teach a thing. I was the kid that played school all the time. I would line up my dolls, or every time my friends would come over, I was the bossy one that I thought I had better ideas, and I'd line them up, and they'd be the kids and I'd be the teacher, and I'd send them to the principal's office sometimes. That passion for children is what drove me to do what I've done for my entire adult life. And so you're going to have teachers who are there because they're driven, and they're there because it's their passion. I know, at least in the US, I know that our industry is getting a lot more funding from the government right now. I know that families are beginning to get some tax breaks for childcare. And so things may possibly be looking up. And that's a question, and that's an issue we certainly can't solve in this one webinar. But it's not the highest paying job, but it definitely is a job that makes an impact. And I promise you that this field that we have, this field that we are in, there are people who will be there, and they will be your people, and they will love your kids, and they will love your school, and they will absolutely love being there. Anne says, I find the turnover retention problem is mostly the younger generation that does not have the respect and understanding to maintain a full-time job. And that's true too. And that's another thing and again, it's not on topic here, but I want to address it, because you said it, maybe it's looking at structuring, having more part-time employees than having full-time employees. Things are changing. And I think we have not even scratched the surface of all of the changes that COVID has brought into our culture and into our world. This pandemic has changed human behavior, and we are on the cutting edge of figuring it all out, right? We're standing on the edge looking. Are you standing in the balcony looking down and watching the trends and watching the way things are changing? Because they're changing. And here's the thing. Are you going to stick to, well, this is the way that we've always done things. This is what has worked before? Because when the pandemic hit, we realized that 0 people got to stay in their comfort zone. 0 people got to stay. I'm not changing. I'm not doing anything different. I'm going to stick with what I've been doing. No one said that, because we all had to change. We all had to have a completely different paradigm from which we approach our life and our work. So have hope, have courage. Those people are out there. You found them before, and you will find them again. So I want you to ask yourself, what is the secret sauce for your team? I would love for you to jot down in the chat, what is your secret sauce? Like, what makes people want to come what teachers, like what makes those teachers want to come back again and again? What makes your staff brand amazing? And while you guys are typing in the chat, what's your secret sauce? Carol says she learned a new phrase lately she's been using in interviews, and it's a lifestyle career. No nights, no weekends, and many positions can be scheduled. Employees can leave to go home, take their school age kids. Absolutely, Carol. Those are all great points. It's lifestyle. Just hired 2 new staff teachers, and that they would get full-time regular hours Monday through Friday. Yeah, it absolutely is it's lifestyle. That's a great way to put it. No nights and no weekends. A lot of times you get your holidays off. So there are lots of benefits that you can promote. But when you think in terms of your staff brand, I want you to remember, we talked about this earlier, your staff brand means that it's your talent attraction strategy. And your talent attraction strategy should display exactly who you are as an employer to the kind of talent that you want to attract. Now, there's a picture of my team. I love them so much. It's a little bit smaller since COVID, but when you see them, they are youth fitness, gymnastics, music, dance teachers. They are fun. They are energetic. They are on brand. They are fit. They are healthy. When they come into centers, they are excited to bring that energy. That's the kind of people I want to attract. We have a short clip video on our employment page of our company website, and it says, this is what it's like to work here. And it's videos of our training, it's videos of our classes, it's interviews with our teachers to say, this is what it's like to work here. So maybe that would be something. Maybe you would want to leverage a little bit of technology and attract the right people. Pat says she's not a micromanager. I can say I hire excellent people and expect them to be excellent. I give them room to use their talents and the talents of their coworkers. Amen to that too, Pat. That's great. You are not a micromanager. And Pat, I am so excited to get to train your team live. That is going to be awesome because you're not a micromanager. When you hire smart people and you unleash them to do the job that you needed them to do, it feels so good. But I know a lot of you, and Yvette and I have had this conversation, a lot of you have a little PTSD from hiring the people who were the wrong fit for your program. Now, one of these girls in here was in this picture, she was a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader. And if you know anything about the culture of America, the Dallas Cowboy cheerleaders have typically been America's sweetheart. So when she came on to work for me, I was like, oh my gosh, I get to tell my families that a Dallas Cowboy cheerleader is teaching dance to their children. She was a phenomenal dancer. But guess what? She was a diva. She's like, well, I can't teach today because I have appearances. And the reasons would just abound on why she couldn't show up to work and teach her job. And she was always calling out and getting a sub. So although she had the talent to teach dance, she wasn't a good cultural fit for our school because one of our core values is we team up for the kids. And she wasn't there and she wasn't teaming up for the kids. So even though I was like, I don't have to micromanage this one, she needed a lot of direction. And it ended up not being a really great fit for a while. But the majority of the faces that you see here, absolutely. I don't need to micromanage them. I give them great, solid training tools. I can say with confidence, our onboarding training, and we've been using online training for a long time with assessments, with checking for understanding. We have a very clear track. This is your online training. This is your in-person training. These are your objectives. These are your goals. This is what you are going to know, think, and do at each stage of this onboarding process. And then we walk through the coach approach. So we call them grow meetings every so often, and we connect with them. So it's not just bringing them on, but it's leveraging everything that you have to connect with your people. And then finally, if doing something like that, something you guys are interested in, we are launching, it's called Manuals to Modules. It's just an online course. It'll be on our website. It's to help early education leaders turn their hot mess employee manual into an online course. You can find some information about that on my website, bethcannonspeaks.com. And in ending today, what is next for you. So first, thank you for your time. I mean, it's just an honor that you would show up and have this space and this time, and that you would carve out the time to be here and to listen. And I hope that you got some really great nuggets. Remember, it's not just your building or your brand. Those are your tools that you use to attract the families in. It's the right use of technology and the right use of the right talent that really helps your school to hit on all cylinders. And I want you all to have so much hope. Hope that if you are lacking staff right now, they're out there for you. I mean, for me, I'm a person of faith, and so I pray for them. I pray for who they are. Maybe prayer's not your jam. Maybe you're more, maybe manifestation is your jam, and you want to manifest who you're calling into your school. Wherever you find yourself, find a focus and believe that those people are coming to you. Believe that they are out there. The childcare industry, early education teachers have not gone away. They're there. Are you positioned to attract, train, and retain quality teachers and quality families? And let's see, we've got one more comment here in the chat. How can a CRM help with retaining staff? Okay, pulling it all together, it's not just the CRM. The CRM is going to get families in. It's going to streamline that communication between your school staff and between those families. So a CRM is just a piece of the communication. It is that attraction tool that helps funnel those families in. And then again, it's not just the CRM, it's all three things put together: your tools of attraction, the technology, which a CRM is included in that, and your talent. And I know Sierra with ChildcareCRM, she can probably speak to that a lot better than I can. So she's going to pop on here in just a minute. There she is, Sierra. I bet you can answer that question better than me.
Yeah, I think
that's your jam. Give it to us.
Yeah. Well, just like you said, it's, this whole webinar is about retaining your staff and your families, and a CRM really is just kind of a piece of that puzzle. But definitely from, a standpoint who I work in a CRM every single day, and I've worked at companies before where I didn't have it and I wasn't able to really do my job to, meet the expectations of my managers. So equipping your employees with the right tools to make you happy, make directors and owners happy, and fill that school up is definitely going to make a big difference in terms of their job satisfaction. And then also, using a CRM that automatically follows up with parents and keeps them engaged and interested in your center is going to help retain those families in the long run, like Beth was talking about earlier, and even turn them into evangelists for your school in the future. So awesome. I think that was fantastic, Beth. You gave a lot of information, and everyone wanted to make sure that they could get, the recording or the notes from today's webinar. And I definitely will be sending that out tomorrow morning, along with a certificate of attendance. And in the meantime, like Beth mentioned, we're going to give out a guide to choosing a CRM for your childcare organization. Of course, we would love, you guys to use ChildcareCRM. But we want you to take like the best fit for you and your center. And someone mentioned ProCare and Explore. We do have integrations with both of those management systems, as well as a few others, including Kangaroo Time, and some lead generation platforms as well, like Winnie, Care.com, and Kinside. So we'd love to hear from you guys about your technology needs, and be sure to check out Beth and her converting manuals to online modules training.
Yeah, it's really revolutionary. I saw such a difference when I made the switch to this. And so I'm kind of an instructional design nerd. I guess I'm a nerd in a lot of different things, but I love instructional design, and I love figuring out ways to make training stick. And that's what we all want, right? We all want our employees, we want them to know, think, and do exactly the way that we intend, so that we can function as a family and function as a brand. And like you said, turn those families into, you said I say brand ambassadors, you said evangelists. That's a great analogy.
Awesome. And if we have any questions, feel free to drop those in the chat now. I know a lot were answered during the training. Awesome. Carrie says she learned a lot today. She's been a director, a service leader for 25 years.
Oh, wow. Congratulations.
Expression for 30 years. Well, thanks for joining us, Carrie.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, definitely a lot to think about. Well, that's another thing that COVID did is it opened up so many opportunities for different tips and tools and trainings. And so I think the world has really opened up. So again, thank you all for your time. It was just an honor to be able to teach you and serve you today. And reach out, can find me on Facebook, BethCannonspeaks.com. I'm on LinkedIn as well. And then be sure to download that guide, and it'll give you lots of great tips.
Fantastic. Well, like I said, you'll receive an email tomorrow morning if you're in the US, or later this evening if you're in Australia. But please reach out to Beth or ChildcareCRM online if you have any questions in the meantime.
Okay. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Bye. Thank you.